Hello, I'm live, and I am doing this slightly spur of the moment, as usual. I need to start planning this better so I can give you proper notice and give you time to join me and actually invite you properly. But here we are. I guess part of me continues to do it this way because I quite like doing this while not being watched. I guess that is the introvert in me. I love talking to people, but I love being on my own even more. So this is the best of both worlds, all right? If none of you are watching live, then I get to say whatever I want, and then I post it, and then it's out there, and I'm not there. Isn't that ever so weird? Anyway, I thought I'd talk a bit about soul purpose today. Actually, I talk about this a lot. If you subscribe to my newsletter, then you may know this, or well, the people I work with know this too. And what better day to talk about the soul a bit than today, right? Today's Ascension Day. And those of you who have a Christian background may remember that that is the day that Jesus went up to heaven, as the Bible says it. And of course, that is all about shedding, as it were, the human earthbound part of us and becoming soul, really. And then whenever I talk about the soul, I get very passionate about it. And at the same time, of course, it's only a concept, right? As is everything, of course. It doesn't actually exist. That's not something you can point at. So if the concept doesn't mean anything to you, that is absolutely fine. Because if that is not something you're experiencing, well then, then it has no meaning. Oh, I see there's somebody joining me. That is lovely. In fact, it says two people joining me. It'd be lovely if you could leave a little comment so I know who you are and I can say hello to you. But feel free not to. I've just been explaining that I like to be a bit anonymous and a bit absent. Maybe you do too. Anyway, so soul, what are we talking about anyway? It's not as if it's a part of our bodies that we can point to. It's much more all-pervasive than that, and I like to think of it as well, it's very much like mind, really, isn't it? What is mind? The mind is not the brain, and the brain is something we can actually point at, but mind is much more intangible than that, and so is the soul. Yet some of you who will be watching this will know exactly what I mean. You feel that there is something in you or in and outside of you that is fulfilling you, that is somehow subtly steering you. And of course, I love to refer to the Sting song, "Let Your Soul Be Your Pilot." Because your soul is not necessarily your pilot. Ego can also be your pilot. And as I say so very often, that is in many cases not the best pilot you can have, because ego will always steer you in the direction of control and comfort and self-assertion and staying away from danger, avoiding pain, etc. And it can be very restrictive, very limiting. Whereas soul is expanding, and soul is not bound to linear space and time. So it's that eternal or divine part of us, if you like. And if I say part, I'm already not doing it justice, because it's not an actual thing. It's not in any way restricted. as far as I'm concerned. Anyway, the reason why the inspiration for today's talk was a talk I had yesterday with a client who, oh, Irina, hello, my darling. I'll be talking lots to you today, won't I? And so I was saying, I was talking to a client yesterday and I was taking her through a visualization where we interacted with her inner wisdom, what I sometimes call the inner wise woman. And at some point when we were discussing her experience afterwards, she said, I need to find my soul purpose. And many people feel this, when I need to find my soul purpose. Once I find that, I can become happy, or I'll know what to do in life, or I'll know how to choose. And that may or may not be true, but I got triggered by the word I need to find, and all of a sudden I felt, no, that is not how it works. There is nothing you need to do. Well, there is, but not initially. It is much more about, are you open to receiving it? Can you hear it? Can you feel it? Can you be in touch with it? Because as human beings, yes, lovely coincidence indeed, Irina. I'm talking about soul purpose today. I'm almost always talking about soul purpose. Anyway, we are human beings, but we are so often, as Jon Kabat-Zinn puts it, so often we are human doings. We feel we need to be doing stuff all the time, and in order to achieve things, we feel we need to do something. We need to think and then do. Whereas, in my experience, soul purpose is not something you can go out and find. And yet, when I say that, that is not quite true either, because you do go out and find it. Just simply by being on this planet and living, you do go out and find it. But then you may miss it if you can't recognize it, right? And people sometimes mistake their soul purpose for a job, or a business, or a partner, or kids. And I think those things are not it. So you may be in a job you hate and still be in touch with your soul purpose. So in that sense, you don't have to worry so much about outer appearances in your life. But whether or not you are in touch with your soul purpose is much more an inside thing. And there is both a universal and a unique element to your soul purpose, and the universal aspect is that you are, in my conception anyway, in my view of life and world and eternity, you are soul in a human body, and your soul wants to express itself through you, and that is the soul's purpose. Expressing itself through the human you are now, and you're doing that whether you want to or not. But are you doing it soulfully, or are you more ego-driven? And both are fine. Don't get me wrong. The ego is there, as I always say, because we are a human. It is what makes us human. It's all about, if we want to live this life, we'll have to make sure that we stay here, right, for a certain amount of time, and that is what the ego is for. It gives us a personality. It tries to keep us from harm, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that, but it's a bit limited, and that is where the soul comes in. Now, there's also a unique aspect to your soul purpose, because you are a unique being, so you will have certain talents, and you will have a certain strength, and a certain drive that that cannot be denied, And yet, having said that, that can be expressed in so many different ways and in so many different places. So you need never be worried that wherever you are and whoever you're with, you cannot live your soul purpose, because you always can. And it's just a matter of being true to yourself, and that, of course, is hard enough. You know, it's so simple to say, just be true to yourself. Well, it's difficult. You know, I'm 51, and I think much of the 51 years I've been on this planet, I've not been true to myself, and I didn't realize it. Now I know how that manifests. And you can feel it in your body, and your emotions will tell you. It's when you feel restricted, when you feel you can't breathe, when you feel you can't express yourself, when you feel slighted, when, you know, all those things, that is when you're not being true to yourself. Being true to yourself means being able to express the truth with a capital T that lives inside you, being able to express it, and being able to act accordingly. And while I say this, I realize that it's a huge privilege to live in a country where that is possible, and yet I think in any circumstances it is possible to honor your inner truth. Maybe it's not always possible to voice it so very loudly, but to acknowledge it, that it is there, and that it is true, and that is who you truly are. That is always possible, and that is where it starts, right? Because permission to be you can only be given by you eventually. So yeah, and this, like I said at the beginning of this video, this all got triggered by my lovely client. Beautiful conversation I had with her, who said, I need to find my soul purpose, and I said to her, you need to receive it, you need to allow it to emerge through you. How do you do that? Well, that is a matter of being really kind to yourself, taking time to get quiet, taking time to be in your body, to really embody yourself, for example in meditation or in prayer or in reflection or in just sitting still or seeking some kind of physical activity that allows your mind to settle and to just be in the experience of whatever life is at that moment, and get very much in touch with what is living inside you. And the rational mind is usually slightly intrusive if you want to get in touch with this. Now, one of my intentions with this video was to keep it short, because I'm going to post this in a while, and people are not going to watch a video that goes on and on and on. And of course I can talk about this for hours, and maybe I will sometime, but that would then be a workshop or a masterclass or a one-on-one session, which of course you're always very welcome to have. And if that is what you want, if you want to talk more with me, if you want to discuss your soul purpose, or if you want to be taken to the process I took my client through, then feel free to message me and get in touch. Always happy to talk. To talk soul to soul. It's what I'm good at. So yeah, those were my Ascension Day reflections, and I hope you enjoyed at least part of it. I wish you a lovely day, and well, if you haven't done so, you could like my page so my next live stream will be announced to you, and we'll talk more. See you later. Have a wonderful day. Bye bye.